have a daughter, and other than this show, my acting career has been a flop.
My hope was that the flop would chase 4 of them off.
Professor, if your lesson's a complete flop today, blame Tyler and Monty.
Hey, welcome. You know, it's funny. In English, sometimes the simplest words have the most amazing hidden stories. Today, we're going to dig into one of my absolute favorites, and we're going to kick things off with a little puzzle. Okay, so get this. What do a fish out of water, a really bad movie, and a totally exhausted person all have in common? I know, it sounds completely random, right? But believe it or not, there's one single word that ties them all together. Got any ideas?
They can all flop. Yep, that's our word. That's the key. And today we're going to break down how this one little word can mean so many different things.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. We're talking about the most literal, physical meaning of flop. It actually all starts with a sound and a movement.
Okay, I want you to imagine this for a second. Picture yourself sitting in a super quiet room, and then this big, heavy book just slides right off the edge of a table. What's the first thing you hear when it hits the floor?
It hits the floor with a flop, right? The word itself actually sounds like what it is. It's not a sharp crack or loud bang. It's that dull, heavy thud. And that's the first secret of this word. It's a sound.
So there's our first official meaning. A flop is that low, heavy, dull sound something makes when it hits a surface. You know, the word is actually onomatopoeic, which is just a fancy way of saying it sounds like the noise it's describing. Kind of cool, huh?
Okay, so we've got the sound. Now let's talk about the action that makes that sound. I mean, what kind of movement actually creates a flop? Well, it's definitely not graceful or elegant. Think heavy, clumsy, totally uncontrolled.
And you see this kind of movement all over the place, right? Think about that fish on the deck of a boat. It's just flopping around. Or a rag doll. The second you let it go, it just flops. We even describe big, soft dog ears as floppy. It's all about that loose, heavy, uncontrolled feel.
All right, so we've got the sound, and we've got the physical movement. So how do we use it for ourselves? Well, let's look at something a lot of us do at the end of a really long day. This is where it gets super relatable. Just picture this. You've had an incredibly long, tiring day. You finally get home, you see your couch, and you don't just sit down. No way. You flop. You just let everything go and kind of collapse right onto it.
And that feeling is the key. It's all about total exhaustion and just release. It's basically the same heavy, uncontrolled movement as that book we talked about, but this time you're doing it on purpose. It's that amazing feeling of just letting go.
Okay, so we've gone from physical things to something a bit more abstract. Now we're going to dive into probably the most common figurative meaning of flop, one you'll hear all the time in the news, in movie reviews, and in the business world.
Yeah, you'll hear sentences just like this one all the time. When a movie is called a box office flop, it has zero to do with a sound or how it moves. It just means it was a huge, spectacular failure.
So this gives us our third big meaning. As a failure, a flop is something that was just completely unsuccessful. And it's usually used for things that had high hopes, maybe a lot of money was spent on them, and they failed to deliver.
And it's not just movies either. A new brand of soda that nobody buys? That's a flop. A business idea that just goes completely nowhere? Total flop. You can even have a political campaign that flops. See, the word usually suggests a very public and often pretty expensive kind of failure. Okay, before we wrap this all up, let's do a super quick but really important grammar check, because getting this right will help you use the word perfectly. So you can use flop as both a noun and a verb. As a noun, it's the thing, the failure. So you'd say, the movie was a flop. But as a verb, it's the action of failing. So you'd say, the movie flopped. It's a subtle difference, right? Was a flop versus just flopped.
I know, it seems like a tiny detail, but trust me, getting this right makes your English sound so much more natural. The main thing to remember is just ask yourself, am I talking about the failure as a thing or as an action?
All right, so after that whole journey, which is one little word, let's put all the pieces back together one last time. So we kick things off with the literal sound, right? That dull, heavy thud. Then we tied that to a physical action, like flopping onto a couch. And from there, we saw how that whole idea of a heavy, lifeless fall turned into this big figurative meaning of a total failure. So there you have it. From the sound a book makes hitting the floor, all the way to a multi-million-dollar movie disaster, it's all packed into this one simple, four-letter word.
So, I've got one last question, and this one's for you. Now that you know all its secrets, where are you going to hear the word flop next? Will it be in a movie review? Or maybe you'll just use it to describe how you're going to crash on the sofa tonight. Keep your ears open for it. I think you'll be surprised just how often you hear it.